Is 8-bit the future of synth bass? Let's find out. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at another really cool pedal from Gojira FX. This is the 8-bit ARP, and this is an arpeggiator pedal, but it also does a lot of other really cool things. In fact, there's so much involved in this that even just with these 3 controls, this is going to have the most playing clips of probably any video I've ever done. But before we get into the details of this pedal, I want to first say thank you very much to Scott from Gojira FX, who kindly sent this one over to me for doing the demo. But I will say this isn't a paid video, and this is still my opinion on this pedal as I go through this demo. But with all that out the way, I have to say I really love this pedal. It's perfect for bass players like myself who, let's be honest, we don't exactly use traditional bass tones, and this has lots of really cool, unusual sounds in it. It's got 3 controls, which on face value is simple enough, but they can do a lot. The simplest of the 3 is the volume control, does what it says on the tin. And then we've got the pitch or rate control. Now that changes depending on the third control. And the third knob is a rotary encoder, or a rotary switch. And what that means is it has 4 settings. Setting number 1 is standard, which is almost more like a fuzz circuit, where this can create, on bass at very least, almost an LFO kind of pulse to it, because it's detuning it basically. It does a bit of a detune that means that depending on the note you play, it kind of does this slight wobbly thing. Really cool. Setting number 2, is, sorry I had to check which one I was on there. Setting number 2, this becomes a pitch control properly. I mean, it is on the last one as well, but proper pitch control. And it changes the pitch of that upper octave that's added. Again, the notes you play interact with that. So on bass in particular, when you play low, well, really anywhere on the bass, when you play, each note's going to interact differently with that upper interval that's there. And then the third setting is octave down, same idea again, but just adding the octave below instead of above. And then the fourth setting is the arpeggiator setting. And this is just crazy. That's what you heard at the intro clip at the start of the video. Now, this setting here, with the intro clip in particular, when I did that tapping sequence, it created an almost modular synth effect. And that's one of the things I love about this pedal. You're definitely not listening to this thinking it's a bass guitar, at least on those settings, which I really like. In fact, I was originally going to play the modular synth through this in the video, but there's so much already to cover that I thought we'll save that for another video. So if you've got anything in particular you want to see about using this with synths, leave that below and I'll try and incorporate it into the next video. Everything else about the pedal is just completely standard though. Input, output, 9-volt supply, clicky foot switch, and a really cool paint job. Now this comes in 2 different paint jobs. The turquoise with the pink writing, like I've got, which fit really well with the colour scheme of the channel. Then you also get it in an enclosure that's pink with the turquoise writing. So I'll put a photo of that up somewhere so you can see that one as well. At the start of this video you heard the arpeggiator setting running with the rate up just about 2/3, and like I say, with the tapping sequence it sounded really cool. The rig we used for that clip, and for most of the clips in this video today, was my Squier 54 jazz bass with round wound strings, which I actually favoured for this video, which is unusual. And that was running into the Eden WTDI preamp, and then into a Nux Mini Studio cabinet simulator. And then that was all being fed into Ableton. Now, there was very minimal post-processing on this video, because I really wanted to show what this pedal sounds like in my rig. In the next clip, we're going to go right back to the start with this pedal, and we're going to go to the standard setting. Now for this one, if I check my notes, yep, I've got a notepad for this video because there's a lot to go through and there's no way I'm remembering all of that. For the next one, we are using, yep, just under half for that rate or pitch control. Now for this, we're going to get that subtle pulse to it. It's not going to be too intrusive, but on certain notes you'll hear the slight detuned wobble. So it's like a fuzz with a slight vibrato on it. And I really liked that. That was a really cool sound. And again, same bass rig as the first clip that you heard. So let's check that out now in the next clip. And we're staying on the same setting for the next clip, but we're going to use the speed or pitch control, rate, whatever we want to call it, up full. Now with this, it's a really growly, gritty, slightly glitchy fuzz sound, which, I'll be honest, I really loved this sound. I loved all the sounds used in this video, that's why I've picked them, but this one was one I particularly enjoyed. And I've added a chorus to this one. It's just the Arturia June 60 plugin, which is the Juno 60 chorus. And it sounds great. That after this is a real massive synth bass sound. And for the next clip, we're using the red jazz bass with round wounds, no, flat wounds even, instead of the jazz bass with the round wounds. Because the flat wounds I felt fit this clip better. So let's check that out now. So for the next clip, we're moving on to the octave up setting, and we're keeping the pitch control about 2/3 of the way up. Now this creates a really interesting characteristic because every note you play will interact differently with where you have this set. And as a result, that means you can almost get some ring modulation style kind of warbles. I don't even know what the right word for it would be. It sounds almost like a ring modulator on some notes and sounds almost like you've got an LFO running on other notes. If you're not into synthesizers, some of these terms might not seem too familiar, but ultimately it's creating pulses in the sound depending on the note you play. It's like it's interacting with whatever key you set this to. This sets whatever the overall key that it's looking for is. Are you as confused as I am right now? Because I think I could have worded that a bit better. And I think actually rather than trying to explain deeper and deeper how this sounds, we need to just hear it. This has definitely got that octave up, octave fuzz kind of sound. It's got that quite sharp, aggressive octaver thing. This is the real Trent Reznor 9 Inch Nails type sound, I would say. And I think it sounds great, particularly with this pitch manipulation, LFO wobbly thing going on. So let's check that out now. And next up, we're checking out the octave down. So much like with the octave up, it's going to have these interactions with the pitch and the movement, so that pulse to the sounds. But with this one, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to start with it completely maxed. Now, when we have it completely maxed, we get much quicker pulses, and it really goes into that ring modulator thing. But with this fundamental low end that gets added, particularly when you go up really high on the bass, you get that octaves below, that sub-octave thing really shines through. Once you play lower on the neck, we start getting into the classic octaver tracking thing. And I will say, this pedal's an interesting pedal when it comes to tracking, because the standard setting tracks perfectly fine all over the neck. You just get that LFO pulse thing depending on where you play. Some notes it's really quite strong, the pulse. Other notes it just complements it really nicely. It's finding the right setting on the control to suit the instrument and to suit the range you're playing in. With the octave up and octave down, it tracks more like a traditional octaver pedal, where below a certain note it doesn't track as well. But unlike those where that is a problem, with this one you just get these really, I don't even know the right word, really different glitches, really different kind of pulses. Because it's all kind of given that LFO thing, it just reacts differently once the tracking starts to get more difficult. So I actually really like pushing it to its limits, this pedal, and you'll hear that a little bit in the next clip. So let's check that out now. And for the next clip, we're staying on the same sound, still the octave down, but we're dialing it back again, just under half, to give a little bit more of that interesting pulse dynamic like we had previously. We're going to use the same bass, same rig, and just change that really. So let's check that out now in the next clip. Last but not least, we're going back to setting number 4, which is the arpeggiator. This is an unbelievably cool pedal, and this arpeggiator really is the star of the show. But talking about the tracking, there's something really interesting with the way this works. Like the other settings, the octave up and octave down, you do have the tracking element with this, because it's manipulating the sound. What's different though is this already cuts out your clean sound. So you might be going, there's a delay before the sound comes out of the pedal when you pluck. Yeah, there is. But that's a good thing, that's a characteristic of this circuit, is it cuts the clean signal. So when you play, the arpeggiator builds that rhythm from whence you've played, so your timing dictates where these notes land. That's a really cool thing. But that also has another really cool benefit, because yes, it doesn't track down below a certain frequency range like most octave based pedals would do. But even once you go below where it's comfortably tracking, it still creates an arpeggiator pattern even, based on where you're playing. So the pitch might not change drastically below a certain point, but you'll still get these varying arpeggiator patterns, different depending on where you play. That to me is a really cool thing. This is a pedal that makes you get creative, and that's something that kind of hits home for me big time. I want to be inspired when I plug a pedal in, and this certainly inspired me, to the point where I would say this pedal has, I would say, at least 2 or 3 songs that it's already sparked ideas on that will maybe make the next album, if I can ever get the first one finished. And to be honest, it's already ended up as a weird synth layer on the new album, kind of in secret while I was still filming this, because it's such a cool pedal. So, a bit of a conclusion before we play the last clip. It's no secret that I really like this pedal. Is this going to be something you take to a jam night to play Brown Eyed Girl with a cover band or something like that? No, not that pedal at all. This just is not for that. This isn't even a traditional fuzz by any standard. It does have a cool fuzz tone in it, but it's not really for that. In fact, it's even got a cool octave fuzz setting on octave up, but it's not really for that. This is for creating really cool, interesting sounds that you're not really going to get from many other pedals. And I think he's kind of nailed it with this one. It's certainly a pedal that won't leave my rig anytime soon. And yeah, I love it. It's just a great pedal. I just want to say thanks again to Scott for sending this over, because I really do appreciate that. And it's something I'll certainly get good use out of, and will even be coming back to it in other videos as well. So if you have any questions about this pedal, please leave them down in the description below. Also let me know what your favourite sounds were, because I'd love to hear what you all thought of this pedal. Of course, this is all my opinion, what I think about this. I want to know what you think, so let me know in the description what you thought of this one. So we're going to play out on one last clip of the arpeggiator setting, with it to about just over halfway, maybe about 2/3, and we'll have someone, can't even say it, we'll have some fun with that to end the video. But before that, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate that. If you did enjoy the video, please hit like and subscribe down below, clicking the bell icon to be notified of more content when it comes out. And until next time, keep working on those bass faces.